I'm Prince B, and I'm here to discuss games, anime, literature, and also eat cheesecake. Butler, bring me the cheesecake. The cheesecake, my lord. Yes. I'm sorry, sir. Regrettably, you ate the last of the cheesecake for today's mid-morning snack. What? That was only like 20 minutes ago. Exactly, my lord. No! Shall I bring you the pudding instead, my lord? No, I don't want pudding. Very well, my prince. Butler, bring me the pudding. The pudding? Very well. Yes, my lord. Well, that's disappointing. Guess I'll just have to make the best of it. Maybe I can find a book that can help me with that. 1 second. Ah, yes, here is one that will help. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. But before I start reading, why don't we discuss it a little bit?
Chapter 1. Story and Characters. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich is a novel by Russian author Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Solzhenitsyn is famous for this and other works such as the Gulag Archipelago, in which he writes about the harshness of the Russian labor camps and of Russian totalitarianism. This particular novel was published in 1962 and details, as the name implies, but a single day in the life of a man named Ivan Denisovich, also known as Shukov. Ivan, referred through most of the book as Shukov, is a prisoner at a Russian work camp, or Gulag. He is serving there on charges of spying for the Germans during the war, a crime he didn't commit. Personally, I like to think Ivan looks like Merrick. No, not that Merrick. This Merrick. Maybe not the outfit, but the face? I don't know. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. He probably looked something more like Solzhenitsyn himself. The entirety of the story takes place over one day in the Gulag, as seen by Ivan. From waking up at morning reveille, to taking meals of bread and cold thin soup that consist of little more than water, to working at forced labor to the last guard check before bed. Life is hard in the camp. It's cold, the work is hard, and there's little food. And what food you get is liable to be cut from the standard ration. Further, the guards, and even some of your fellow prisoners, are said to make your life a nightmare. Despite this, Ivan has his own sense of dignity, and 8 years of life in the camp hasn't eroded it. This can be seen when he ponders the worth of making easy money painting carpets versus the satisfying work of an honest trade, and again when he risks getting punished to ensure a wall gets built right. Ivan is a very likable character, and you can't help but sympathize with his troubles and take joy in his triumphs. Ivan serves as a very effective link between the troubles of camp life and the reader. While Ivan is the main protagonist, he's joined by several other characters in the brief time we know him. The camp guards seek to make his and everyone else's lives difficult, while Ivan's squad mates like Turin, the squad leader, and Alyosha, the Baptist, help each other survive. While these characters, and even Ivan himself, are not above doing what they have to in order to ensure their own survival, even at the cost of another inmate, they likewise help each other when the situation demands. This gives each character a very refreshing feel, a human element, which contrasts well with the seemingly dehumanized guards. Chapter 2. Writing Style. As I previously stated, Solzhenitsyn did a great job of making the characters feel human. This is accomplished through the way he portrays them. through their dialogue and his descriptions of their actions. His words are carefully chosen, and they have great impact on the reader. His sentences are likewise well crafted, varying from the average length to short, sudden ones merely a few words long. This further aids in conveying exactly how we as readers should feel in a situation. Some complain about the pacing of the book, as it can seem to drag on. My personal copy is about 167 pages long. That entire length is used to tell the course of one single day. While in most situations I would agree that that could be a bit slow, it further illustrates here how it feels to be in a work camp. That slow dragging of the book's pace. Imagine going through that every day for 10 years, or even 25. That gives you an idea of how slow the days must have felt to the prisoners. Personally, I think the pacing works really well here. Also, I must say the translation is really good, as it was translated into English from Russian. Most things that a Westerner wouldn't understand are explained with much appreciated note on the bottom of the page. With that out of the way, let's discuss the themes this book tackles. Chapter 3: Ideas and Themes. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich tackles many themes. It explores the harshness of the totalitarian state, the idea of maintaining dignity even when in a place, like the camps, where no one would fault you for crumbling, a place designed to strip that dignity, the person's individuality, and their humanity. Tied to this, the idea of camaraderie, when men stick themselves on the line for each other. When Ivan helps another inmate protect his food, and when that inmate shares it with another less experienced inmate. Further, the story gives the theme of faith. It comes up most noticeably at the end, during a conversation with Alyosha the Baptist about religion. It takes faith to continue on in their work camp, living and hoping for the next day to come, for the glimmering hope of freedom. And that is what I feel is perhaps the most important message of the story. Hope. I'd like to quickly read the last part of the book. This is a spoiler warning. If you haven't read the book, and are intending to do so, skip this section, and go ahead, and come back later. Shukov went to sleep fully content. He'd had many strokes of luck that day. They hadn't put him in the cells. They hadn't sent his squad to the settlement. He'd swiped a bowl of kasha at dinner. The squad leader had fixed the rates well. He'd built a wall and enjoyed doing it. He'd smuggled that bit of hacksaw blade through. He'd earned a favor from Caesar that evening. He'd bought that tobacco, and he hadn't fallen ill. He'd got over it. A day without a dark cloud. Almost a happy day. There were 3,653 days like that in his stretch. From the first clang of the rail to the last clang of the rail. 3,653 days. The 3 extra days were for leap years. What I take from this is how this whole day, a day I, and indeed most people, wouldn't want to endure, this horrible day in the Gulag, was just a single, average day for Ivan. It wasn't a bad day, no, but likewise it wasn't great. This is what he's lived through for 8 years, and what he'll continue through for a minimum of 2 more. Even then, he can only hope they release him at that time. He has no guarantee they won't slap another term on there. Yet still, in this, he manages to keep moving on, day by day, through this horrible life. He doesn't give up. He doesn't falter. And through all this terrible things going on in the camp, he manages to maintain his sense of self, his dignity, and even find a little bit of happiness in something as simple as a piece of bread that most of us take for granted. Ivan makes his own life in the camp. He makes his own happiness, and he builds his own hope. Final chapter. Verdict. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich is a fantastic piece of literature. Solzhenitsyn did a wonderful job of making the characters feel human, and conveying just how hard life was in the work camps. If you didn't have to read this in school, I highly recommend you give it a read. It's fairly short, so it can be read in the course of a few hours to a day, depending on your reading speed. I especially recommend it to anyone interested in the gulags or Russian history. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich receives a happy ending.
This book always helps me deal with hardship. It puts things in perspective. My life isn't that bad. So what if I don't have cheesecake? I've got pudding. Let me tell you, that's a lot better than 10 years in a forced labor camp. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go buy some cheesecake.
Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, throw it a like. And if you want to stay updated on videos I'll be releasing in the future, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to check out my last review on Kirby's Epic Yarn.